Last week on Continuum.
"30 years ago, Al and Terry Purvis left for Thailand in simple obedience to the Great Commission. Al and Terry began the ministry by gathering unwanted children that would become a new generation of leaders. But in the shadows of so many failed mission visions, a breakthrough in Thailand would require some very radical and unorthodox moves.
With this idea of planting a stake in our hearts, we began to look at land in Bangkok and think, that's really the way to go.
The building project began with excitement, but eventually ground to an unfinished halt. The building project would never recover. And years later, Al and Terry discovered that their Thai chairman had been taking contractor paybacks and siphoning money from the building project. With their dream in a state of disaster, Al and Terry sought God for the faith to believe that God could establish something concrete in the nation. Miraculously, the land in Bangkok sold for 3 times what they had invested, and new property was purchased near Siricha, a small city an hour south of Bangkok. Now free from the congestion of the big city, the idea of a more effective missions base was beginning to take shape. In 2005, a Thai businessman friend suggested they take out a mortgage to build an apartment complex using the title deed of the land as collateral. That way the rooms they rented out could pay for the mortgage and generate money for the children's home and the ministry. Something witnessed in Al Purvis's heart, and he knew this suggestion was the voice of God to enable him to plant that stake in the ground and build something for future generations. 10 months into the building project, events took place in Thailand that no one could have foreseen. Thailand fell into a political and economic tailspin, forcing Al and Terry and their ministry team into the fight of their lives. On Tuesday, the 19th of September, 2006, the Royal Thai Army staged a coup against the elected government of Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. The coup, which was Thailand's first non-constitutional change of government in 15 years, followed a year-long political crisis involving Thaksin, his allies, and political opponents, and occurred less than a month before nationwide elections were scheduled to take place. The military canceled upcoming elections, abrogated the Constitution, dissolved Parliament, banned protests and all political activities, censored the media, declared martial law, and arrested cabinet members. The junta seized control of 30% of all foreign investment, and there was an immediate 40% markup in the building supplies. The Thai military coup sent the economy into a dive, and the construction company that was building the Lighthouse was already on shaky ground and not prepared for the resulting financial crunch.
So we were going to oversee the home and also to oversee the construction of the lighthouse, because there were things that had already started not to add up.
We begin to get some inklings that why are we always running out of money before the bank releases the next amount? Why are we having to borrow from this fund to keep the construction guys busy because the bank has not approved the next release of the mortgage money? And you start thinking, okay, what's going on here?
So when we first came, of course, they didn't tell us anything.
It was by looking, seeing, watching that we started to see that things weren't right. You know, they kept making excuses why we had no power in the building. You know, the transformer, they were blaming it on the hydro company that they hadn't brought it yet and they'd paid them.
And so you talk to the folks and they say, well, no, it's just this and that's natural and it's the way it works here. And we got down to buying the big transformer, this huge transformer that we had to buy for some reason. The power company doesn't supply it. I guess here you have to buy your transformer. Anyway, we bought that transformer, and then the next thing you know, we bought it again, and then we bought it again, and I'm thinking there's something wrong here. We're buying the same piece of equipment 3 times, and so then we started to wonder, like, okay, what's going on here? And because these are people that we can absolutely trust.
Yeah.
Finally, when push came to shove, we all got dressed up and went down to the hydro office to ask them, and as a committee, and they just said, oh, well, we know nothing about it. This is the first time anybody's talked to us about the power. So,
but all of a sudden the building's coming to a standstill. Things aren't going ahead the way we thought they would be, and there's all kinds of problems showing up.
that was really a key point, I think, in realizing just how bad off they were. And they weren't telling us the whole truth.
So, you know, and then we have things like the military coup that took place in Bangkok. The government's overthrown. All of a sudden, the prices of building supplies shoot up and that kind of thing. And you say, okay, well, we can deal with that. We can deal with this. We can deal with that. And these things are obstacles that we've got to overcome. Mm-hmm. But little did we realize that in the background, they're actually the issues that are beginning to kill this project.
Becky and I actually spent a lot of time going over all the receipts, and because with the building of the home, everything was sort of just put in a bag or a box and nothing was actually followed through.
When there's something like this going on behind this building project that stands to, you know, not only kill a project, but be a major detriment to the entire ministry, we really had to get to the bottom of it, and so we started turning over every rock and finding out what was going on and making some very tough decisions. And I can remember, you know, you have some very difficult confrontational meetings and those kind of things, and you just get things straightened out as much as you can. But basically what we had was this building project now that was 85% complete, that was my estimation. Contractors who would not even give back the blueprints for the electrical, for example, because the guy hadn't been paid, and a company that's building the building that's gone bankrupt.
The construction company was owned by a graduate of the Bible College, a daughter in the faith. She was also a chairman of the Thai Foundation and one of the registered owners of the Lighthouse property. Through no evil intention, but by very bad management, the construction company went bankrupt when the building was 85% complete. The owners fled the country to avoid creditors and the ensuing court cases.
So from there, it was just a snowball effect. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So, like we say, all of a sudden they basically left because they got to the point where somebody was banging on the door every day.
So you've got this tremendous mess. We've all of a sudden now got to turn all of our resources, people resources, financial resources, all of our energies into solving this thing and saving this thing.
Heartsick, Al and Terry and the ministry team put all of the other ministry on hold and turned their attention toward the Lighthouse. Ministry staff, students, missionaries, and the El Shaddai children banded together to finish the basic landscaping, paint rooms, install equipment, furnishings, complete the plumbing and electrical, and pour the concrete roof. Creditors came by often looking for money the construction company owed them, not only for the Lighthouse, but for the other building projects the construction company had defaulted on.
Every day we drove into the yard, we never knew who to expect. There'd be a couple or two people sitting there, or 3 or 4, saying they wanted money for this or that, or...
We'd be having dinner and they would arrive
Yeah.
asking for money because they needed payment, and there was a lot out there that hadn't been looked after that we had thought had been paid for.
Yeah.
To me, that was a major, you know, you just think, of God, well, look at what we're doing here now. You know, I mean, here we are stuck under this thing, carrying the weight of this thing.
The dream to plant a stake in the ground seemed more impossible than ever. The Lighthouse became a black hole that swallowed up any finances on hand and any finances the team could raise. The goal was to finish the building to a rentable state and begin to bring in enough revenue to make the monthly mortgage payments. The project became a consumer blessing instead of a producer.
And it was like a black hole just sucking everything out of us. that in a sense, a bit we got off focused a bit. People phoning us with bills, and
even when they brought policemen even for intimidation and that. But
and we're also, our name is not so good in the neighborhood because we put all these businesses, we owe them all this money, but it's not us, it's the contractors.
Yeah.
So I think we got under it more than we should have.
The problem with any of those things is
Yeah.
we don't have the answer at hand.
No.
Right? We're going to have to fight this thing through again. And again, it's the things that come against to stop
Yeah.
that breakthrough
Yeah.
and that victory, you know.
And this is where a lot of people, when they're into ministry, when it looks so hard, it's like they just, you know, they're up against that wall, and sometimes you just have to push more, put
it's
pressure on
true.
your face.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep pushing
That's
through.
right.
And sometimes if you have to do janitor work while you're doing it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But we knew as a ministry we were all pulling together, and we were believing at some point we are going to have all these people, creditors that are needing their funding, as well as the building, we will be paying it off.
Al Purvis stepped in as the new chairman of the Thai Foundation. But by mortgage rules, the ministry could not transfer the Lighthouse property title from the former chairman's name into the foundation until the mortgage is paid in full. In September 2010, creditors who were owed money from the defaulted construction company filed a court case ordering the lighthouse for sale and proceeds to pay off the debts of the construction company.
And now we've got the building up and running. We've got people living in there. The El Shaddai home is in there, and it's, you know, it's working and it's starting to look, even though obviously something went wrong with it and it's not like really complete, but it is functioning. And so anyway, as we're going along, then all of a sudden here a little while ago, bang, there's a court notice on the front of our building that our building is for sale.
We had no idea.
I guess not, eh?
When this happened a couple of months ago, that this posting went out on the front that the building was for sale, your heart just drops. Like you just have no idea what attack is coming against you, you know.
One of the creditors of the construction company discovered through the courts that the name of the lady that owned the construction company, who was also the chairman of our foundation, who also got the mortgage in her name, had her name on our building, and so the court came against that, and because it's basically listed as her equity, and there's this court case for, I think it was the main building supply. Supplier, and so we had to do something about that, and that was they gave us, what did we have, 2 weeks, I think.
I was in Canada at the time and happened to be in Edmonton and met with one of the members of the board.
And we don't have a leg to stand on unless we can get that court case withdrawn, retracted.
They scraped together every penny they could basically from Canada, what we had here in Thailand, etc., in the ministry, in order to pay off the one bill so that they could free it up, because it was a court-ordered sale, and so they could sell the building if they didn't get the money.
In a 2-week window, the directors of World Missions Continuum in Canada and the ministry team in Thailand again dropped everything to scrape together $31,000 to pay off that creditor and stop the court action. But the story doesn't end here. The Lighthouse property will remain in danger of further lawsuits until the mortgage can be paid off in full and the title deed transferred safely into the name of the ministry foundation.
Of course, these folks are still hiding out in Canada, in the States or wherever, and they're not going to be able to help us, and we're really on our own, fighting a battle that's not ours, paying a debt that's not ours, and you know, that's what David said, you know, they made me pay a debt that I didn't owe, you know, like it wasn't mine, but they made me pay for it, and that's kind of what you feel like.
But you know, we all came together as a ministry. We're going to stand strong on this, being it a spiritual attack or whatever it may be, we are going to keep together on this and continue to work through it, and that's what we're doing now. We're just all pulling together.
We're going to get this mortgage paid off. We owe another $267,000, and money started to come in already. Our missionaries are giving here. Everybody's pouring, you know, their faith and their hearts into this to see this thing paid off, and we're going to see a great victory here. But still today, we are in this very precarious place.
Al and Terry and their team continue to drive this stake one blow at a time, and the spiritually hard ground of Thailand continues to resist. Yet on the horizon there is hope that such determination will bring a breakthrough for the people of Thailand.